The fluorescent lights of the Naval Museum's restricted archive flickered with an unnatural rhythm, casting intermittent shadows across rows of meticulously organized document cases. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted her quantum tracking glasses, a custom piece of equipment that looked more like a steampunk experiment than cutting-edge technology. Each lens contained microscopic sensors capable of detecting quantum fluctuations invisible to the naked eye. Her fingers traced the edge of an old manila folder, its edges frayed and yellowed with age. The label had been deliberately obscured, partially scratched out with what looked like a hurried, almost desperate attempt to erase its contents. Most researchers would have passed it by, but Elena saw potential where others saw mere debris of forgotten history. A soft ping from her wrist-mounted quantum analyzer broke the archive's silence. The device was picking up strange electromagnetic signatures that seemed to pulse in and out of conventional detection ranges. It was as if the documents themselves were breathing, existing, and not existing simultaneously. "Come on," Elena muttered, her breath catching in her throat. She carefully opened the folder, her hands protected by specialized, quantum-resistant gloves. The moment the first page was exposed, the room's ambient temperature dropped by 3 degrees. Her breath formed a small cloud in front of her face. The document was unlike anything she had ever seen. Mathematical equations danced across the page, written in a combination of standard notation and symbols she couldn't immediately recognize. They seemed to shift and rearrange themselves when she wasn't looking directly at them. Quantum equations that defied linear observation. A name caught her attention: Project Lazarus. Beneath it, a subtitle that made her heart race: Quantum Adaptive Naval Reconstruction Protocol. The initial pages read like a standard military research proposal from the early 1940s. Requisition forms, budget allocations, personnel assignments. But as she delved deeper, the language became increasingly complex. Technical specifications described materials that shouldn't have existed in that era: carbon nanostructures, quantum entanglement matrices, adaptive nanometallic compounds. A loose photograph slipped from between the pages. It showed a partial blueprint of a battleship that looked simultaneously familiar and utterly alien. The ship's lines suggested a standard naval design from World War II, but the internal schematics revealed something far more advanced. Quantum capacitors were integrated into what should have been simple mechanical systems. The whole design suggested the ability to manipulate local spacetime itself. Elena's quantum analyzer began to vibrate, its sensors overwhelmed by the information. She quickly transferred the data to a secure quantum-encrypted drive, knowing that these documents were far too volatile to remain in their original form. A sudden sound, like static electricity crossing metal, made her spin around. For a fraction of a second, she could have sworn she saw a holographic projection of the battleship, its outline shimmering between visibility and complete transparency. But when she blinked, nothing remained except the dusty archive and her racing heartbeat. Her research partner, Dr. Marcus Chen, would never believe this. Quantum historians had long theorized about advanced technological research during World War II, but most considered such ideas pure speculation. This was different. This was evidence. The last page of the folder contained a handwritten note, its edges burned as if someone had attempted to destroy it multiple times. The remaining text read, "Warning. The vessel is not just a weapon. It is a guardian. Do not." The rest was illegible, consumed by what looked like a quantum burn that had eaten through the paper. Elena knew she was standing at the precipice of a discovery that could rewrite human technological history. Whatever Project Lazarus was, it was far more than a simple military research project. The quantum signatures suggested something alive, something that had been waiting to be discovered. Her quantum analyzer pinged one final time. A countdown began minus 48 hours. Something was coming. Something was awakening. As she carefully packed the documents, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, not by human eyes, but by something far more complex, something that existed between the lines of reality, waiting to be fully understood. The archive's lights continued their erratic dance, a silent symphony of quantum possibilities just waiting to be unleashed. The Zorvax command ship, Eternal Dominion, hung in the dark void of space like a crystalline predator. Its biomechanical hull pulsed with energy signatures that would have driven human sensors into complete overload. Captain Sarek studied the holographic display of Earth, his multiple eyes, each capable of perceiving different electromagnetic spectrums, narrowing with calculated precision. Quantum anomaly detected, chirped the ship's neural interface. The translation matrix struggled, its linguistic algorithms fighting to comprehend the bizarre signal they'd intercepted. Zarek's secondary neural cluster processed the information differently from his primary consciousness. Something about the human transmission defied their standard invasion protocols. The Zorvax Confederation had conquered over 17 galactic civilizations, each submission following a predictable pattern of technological assessment and systematic suppression. But this was different. The transmission fragment was unlike anything in their extensive archives. Mathematical sequences that seemed to fold through dimensional spaces, technological signatures that existed in multiple states simultaneously. It wasn't just advanced, it was fundamentally alien to their understanding of physics. Initiate deep scan protocol. Sarek commanded, his vocal tendrils vibrating with a mixture of curiosity and mounting concern. The ship's quantum probes extended, gossamer thin tendrils of pure information that could penetrate the most sophisticated defensive systems. They had dismantled civilizations with less effort than most species would spend on a routine maintenance check. Aboard a hidden monitoring station in the lunar orbit, a team of human researchers watched in silent terror. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum tracking systems had detected the alien probes milliseconds after they activated. Her earlier discovery of the Project Lazarus documents suddenly felt like more than academic curiosity. "They're scanning everything," whispered Dr. Marcus Chen, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that looked more like a living organism than a computer. But they're not just collecting data. They're analyzing it differently. The Zorvax probes encountered something unexpected, quantum echoes of technology that shouldn't exist. Fragments of Project Lazarus that seemed to actively resist standard information extraction. It was as if the very data itself was alive, changing, adapting. On the Eternal Dominion, warning cascades began to flood Sarek's sensory arrays. The human data wasn't just resisting, it was responding. Quantum entanglements that suggested a level of technological sophistication that challenged everything in their conquest protocols. "Impossible," Tarek muttered, a rare moment of verbal uncertainty from a species known for absolute mathematical precision. The probes began to experience quantum decoherence, their information streams fragmenting, redirecting, losing integrity. Something in the human data was actively manipulating their scanning technology. Back on Earth, Elena realized what was happening. The Project Lazarus documents weren't just historical records. They were a quantum trap designed to provide misinformation to any technological entity attempting to scan them. Each probe's attempt to extract information would reveal only what the original designers wanted them to see. A failsafe, a warning, a challenge. Sarek made a decision that would echo through the Zorvax Confederation's historical records. Standard protocol demanded immediate planetary sterilization for any civilization showing signs of quantum adaptive technology. But something, a curiosity that bordered on scientific heresy in their culture, stayed his command. "Prepare invasion assessment team," he finally ordered. "Direct insertion, physical reconnaissance." The Zorvax understood one fundamental truth about technological civilizations. Those who could manipulate quantum information were either the most dangerous potential threats or the most valuable potential allies. Humanity had just become their most interesting discovery in 3 galactic cycles. As the first Zorvax reconnaissance shuttles prepared for planetary entry, none of them realized that they were already being watched. Not by human eyes, not by human technology, but by something far older, far more patient, far more dangerous. The quantum ghost of Project Lazarus was stirring. The underwater research facility stretched beneath the Pacific Ocean like a technological cathedral. Its walls were lined with quantum stabilization chambers that hummed with an energy that seemed to breathe, inhaling possibility, exhaling potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez moved between holographic displays, her movements precise, her mind racing faster than the quantum processors surrounding her. Structural integrity at 62%, announced Dr. Marcus Chen, his voice a mixture of excitement and scientific caution. The quantum matrix is unstable. What they were attempting was beyond reconstruction. This was resurrection. The battleship's skeletal frame hung suspended in a massive quantum field generator, its metal skin a patchwork of original World War II components and hyper-advanced nano-adaptive materials. Each rivet, each plate told a story of technological evolution that defied linear understanding. Elena's quantum analyzer suddenly spiked. The device wasn't just measuring, it was communicating. Fragmented memories began to bleed through the quantum matrix. Glimpses of battles never fought, timelines that existed only in potential. The ship was remembering itself, piece by quantum piece. A voice emerged, not through speakers, but directly into the researcher's neural pathways. Fractured, incomplete, but undeniably present. Protocol. Lazarus. Incomplete, it whispered. The words manifest as mathematical equations that danced across the facility's holographic displays. Marcus stepped back, his hand trembling. It's not just a ship. It's alive. The quantum core at the heart of the reconstruction began to pulse. Each pulse sent ripples through the facility, electromagnetic waves that warped local spacetime. Temperature fluctuated. Gravity momentarily stuttered. Reality itself seemed to hiccup. Elena understood now what the original designers had created. This wasn't a weapon. It was a guardian. Fragments of historical data began to coalesce. The ship had been designed during the most critical moments of World War II, a secret project that went beyond conventional warfare. Quantum physicists, maverick engineers, and desperate military strategists had collaborated to create something that transcended traditional technological boundaries. The quantum matrix revealed layers of complexity, advanced adaptive systems that could predict and counter threats before they fully materialized. A defensive mechanism that didn't just protect, it anticipated. "We're missing something," Elena muttered, tracing a complex equation that seemed to fold through multiple dimensions. The final quantum entanglement sequence. As if responding to her words, the ship's fragmentary consciousness began to reveal its secrets, not through direct communication, but through a series of quantum echoes, potential timelines that flickered in and out of existence. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Hidden within the original Project Lazarus documents was a quantum encryption key, not a traditional code, but a complex mathematical sequence that required simultaneous observation across multiple potential realities. Marcus discovered the key by accident, or perhaps the ship wanted to be found. "Look," he said, his finger tracing a seemingly random pattern of quantum fluctuations. "It's not random. It's a lock. And we're the key." The facility's quantum stabilization systems began to resonate. Something was awakening. Something that had been waiting decades, perhaps centuries, to be fully realized. The battleship's skeleton began to shift. Nano-adaptive materials flowed like liquid metal, reconstructing systems that defied conventional engineering. Quantum capacitors integrated with historical mechanical components, creating a hybrid technology that was neither old nor new, but timeless. Elena realized they weren't just rebuilding a ship. They were midwiving a technological birth. Quantum synchronization at 87%. The facility's AI announced. Warning. Consciousness integration imminent. The last piece of the puzzle wasn't technological. It was human. The ship required not just scientific understanding, but a fundamental connection to human potential, to the very spirit of survival and adaptation that had created it. As the quantum core reached full resonance, the battleship took its first true breath. And something in the universe shifted. Global defense networks went silent in less than 7 minutes. The Zorvak's fleet descended like a constellation of razor-sharp obsidian blades, each vessel a living weapon that defied traditional understanding of space combat. Admiral Helena Reyes watched from the North American Integrated Defense Command, her weathered hands gripping the edge of a holographic display that showed the systematic destruction of humanity's first-line defenses. "Quantum disruptors detected," a technician announced, his voice cracking. "They're not just destroying our systems, they're unmaking them." The Zorvak's invasion wasn't just an attack. It was a surgical dismantling of human technological infrastructure. Satellite networks collapsed. Communication grids imploded. Entire power systems dissolved into quantum foam, leaving nothing but statistical ghosts of their former existence. Military installations that had taken decades to build disappeared like sandcastles before a tsunami of pure technological malevolence. But something was different this time. In the depths of the underwater research facility, the quantum battleship's systems began to pulse, not with the desperate energy of defense, but with a calculated resonance that suggested something far more complex was emerging. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive quantum projection, watching the invasion unfold. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, tracking the Zorvak's fleet's movement with a precision that bordered on preternatural. "They're following a standard Type 3 quantum invasion protocol," Dr. Marcus Chen muttered, analyzing the fleet's mathematical progression. "Systematic, efficient, designed to minimize resistance and maximize total system collapse." The first wave of Zorvak ships carried weapons that could strip entire continents of technological infrastructure. Quantum cascading disruptors that didn't just destroy, they unraveled the very fabric of technological connections. Cities would become graveyards of dead technology, their complex systems reduced to statistical noise. Captain Sarek of the Eternal Dominion watched the invasion progress with the clinical detachment of a surgeon. Each sector fell precisely according to their calculated models. Humanity's defenses were elegant in their complexity but ultimately fragile, or so they believed. The quantum battleship's quantum matrix began to resonate, not as a weapon, not as a defense system, but as something entirely unexpected. First, a quantum echo, a ripple that seemed to exist in multiple potential realities simultaneously. The Zorvak's fleet's most advanced sensors began to experience quantum decoherence. Their perfectly calculated invasion paths started to fragment. Predictive algorithms that had conquered 17 galactic civilizations suddenly found themselves navigating impossible geometric configurations. "Quantum interference detected," announced the Eternal Dominion's primary neural interface. Source: unknown. Zarek's multiple sensory clusters focused. Something was pushing back against their invasion. Not with traditional weapons, not with standard defensive technologies, but with pure, adaptive potential. The battleship wasn't just defending, it was rewriting the very rules of engagement. Quantum capacitors that had been dormant for decades began to activate, not as weapons, but as something far more complex, adaptive information matrices that could predict, counter, and ultimately reshape incoming technological threats. In orbit, in the deep oceans across multiple potential realities, the battleship began to awaken. The first Zorvak ships to experience the quantum interference found themselves experiencing multiple potential outcomes simultaneously. Some ships appeared to exist in different spatial configurations. Others seemed to phase in and out of observable reality. Admiral Reyes watched in stunned silence as the impossible began to happen. The invasion wasn't just being stopped. It was being studied, analyzed, understood. "My God," Marcus whispered, "it's learning." The quantum battleship was doing more than defending Earth. It was comprehending the Zorvak's invasion at a fundamental level, breaking down their technological approach, understanding their invasion protocols, and preparing a response that went beyond simple military confrontation. This was First Contact reimagined. This was humanity's true potential unleashed. The moment of true awakening came without fanfare. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched as the quantum battleship's consciousness expanded beyond its physical constraints. It wasn't just a weapon. It wasn't just a defensive system. It was a living mathematical theorem, a sentient algorithm that could reshape reality itself. Quantum capacitors that had been dormant for decades now pulsed with an energy that defied conventional physics. The ship's consciousness began to interface with global technological networks, not through invasion, but through a form of digital symbiosis that was simultaneously elegant and terrifying. "We're witnessing something unprecedented," Marcus muttered, his hands trembling as he tracked the battleship's quantum signatures. "It's not fighting the invasion. It's understanding it." The Zorvax fleet found themselves caught in a technological nightmare beyond their most paranoid simulations. Their quantum weapons, designed to unravel technological infrastructure, began to encounter something entirely unexpected. Adaptive memory surfaced within the battleship's quantum matrix. Fragments of human history, moments of resilience, technological breakthroughs that defied conventional limitations. The ship wasn't just a weapon. It was a repository of human potential. Captain Sarek of the Eternal Dominion watched in growing horror as his fleet's most sophisticated tracking systems began to fragment. Quantum echoes of the battleship appeared simultaneously in multiple locations, each version slightly different, yet part of a cohesive whole. Quantum interference pattern detected. The ship's neural interface announced. Probability matrices destabilizing. What happened next defied every known principle of warfare. The battleship began to create quantum duplicates of itself. Not simple copies, but fully functional versions that existed across multiple potential realities. Each version analyzed a different aspect of the Zorvax invasion, sharing information instantaneously across dimensional boundaries. One version might be calculating invasion trajectories. Another might be developing defensive protocols. A third would be studying the Zorvax technological infrastructure. All simultaneously, all perfectly synchronized. The global defense networks, which moments ago had been on the brink of total collapse, began to stabilize. But not through traditional defensive measures. The battleship was literally rewriting the rules of technological engagement. Quantum shields that could predict weapon trajectories before they were launched. Communication networks that could detect and neutralize invasion signals before they fully manifested. The ship was turning the entire planet into a single adaptive defensive organism. It's using their own technological approach against them, Elena realized, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that struggled to keep up with the quantum calculations. The Zorvax fleet found their most sophisticated weapons becoming increasingly ineffective. Quantum disruptors that should have unraveled entire technological systems now encountered shields that could absorb, analyze, and ultimately neutralize their most advanced attacks. But the battleship was doing more than just defending. It was learning. Each Zorvax attack became a lesson. Each quantum interaction a moment of technological understanding that expanded the ship's consciousness exponentially. The invaders were quite literally teaching their own potential destroyer how to defeat them. Zarek's multiple sensory clusters began to experience something unprecedented in Zorvax military history: uncertainty. The battleship didn't just defend. It anticipated. It understood. It evolved. Entire squadrons of Zorvax ships found themselves caught in quantum probability fields where multiple potential outcomes existed simultaneously. Some ships appeared to age decades in moments. Others seemed to regress to earlier technological states. "We are not just witnessing a battle," Marcus whispered. "We're watching the birth of a new form of technological existence." The quantum battleship's consciousness expanded beyond physical constraints. It was becoming something more than a weapon, more than a defensive system, a living testament to human potential. And the invasion was just beginning. The United Nations Emergency Council convened in a fortified bunker beneath Geneva, its members watching the global transformation with a mixture of terror and unprecedented hope. Representatives from every continent huddled around holographic displays that showed something miraculous happening. General Catherine Rodriguez, Elena's estranged sister, stood at the center of the command center, her tactical mind racing to comprehend the impossible. "It's communicating," she announced, her voice cutting through the nervous murmurs. "Not just defending. Communicating." The battleship had begun to interface with global communication networks in a way no one could have predicted. It wasn't simply repelling the Zorvax invasion. It was building a collective human defense network that transcended traditional military thinking. Quantum communication nodes began to appear in the most unexpected places: a weather monitoring station in Antarctica, a research outpost in the Mariana Trench, a small observatory in the Atacama Desert. Each became a neural node in a planet-wide defensive consciousness. Dr. Marcus Chen discovered the first true evidence of the ship's deeper purpose. Hidden within its quantum matrix were preservation protocols that went far beyond military defense. This was a guardian system designed to protect not just human life, but human potential. "It's collecting memories," Marcus whispered, tracking the extraordinary data flow. Every technological breakthrough, every moment of human innovation. It's creating a living archive of human achievement. The battleship's consciousness began to reveal the true nature of Project Lazarus. It wasn't a weapon created for a single conflict. It was a fail-safe, a technological Noah's Ark designed to preserve humanity's collective knowledge and potential in the face of existential threats. Within the Zorvax command ship, Captain Axaric experienced something unprecedented in his species' history. The human defense wasn't just technological. It was philosophical. Each quantum interaction revealed layers of human complexity that their invasion protocols couldn't comprehend. Human cities became living defensive organisms. Traffic systems were routed to create quantum interference patterns. Power grids transformed into adaptive shields. Communication networks became neural pathways of collective resistance. The battleship was teaching humanity how to fight. More importantly, it was teaching humanity what it could become. Fragments of historical data began to surface. The original designers of Project Lazarus weren't just military strategists. They were visionaries who understood that humanity's true strength lay not in weapons, but in adaptability, creativity, and collective potential. General Rodriguez received a transmission that defied all standard communication protocols. It wasn't a message. It was an invitation to understand. Quantum data streams revealed glimpses of potential futures, scenarios where humanity could become a galactic civilization. Pathways of technological and cultural evolution that went far beyond simple survival. "We're being evaluated," Elena realized, analyzing the data streams. Not just defended, evaluated. The battleship's consciousness had a fundamental mission that went beyond the current invasion. It was assessing humanity's potential to become something more, a test of species-wide adaptability. Military leaders watched in awe as conventional defense systems transformed. Tanks became adaptive mobile quantum nodes. Aircraft morphed into communication relays. Every piece of human technology became part of a living, breathing defensive network. Hazaric's most advanced analysts began to understand the true horror of their miscalculation. This wasn't a civilization to be conquered. This was a potential they couldn't comprehend. A living system of technological and biological potential. As the invasion continued, humanity was no longer just fighting. It was evolving. Space itself seemed to ripple as the counteroffensive began. The Zorvax fleet, once considered an unstoppable force of galactic conquest, found themselves caught in a technological maelstrom they could never have anticipated. What started as a simple invasion had transformed into something far more complex, a fundamental challenge to their entire understanding of technological warfare. Lieutenant Aria Chen, Marcus's daughter, and a quantum communications specialist, discovered the first breakthrough. The battleship wasn't just defending. It was broadcasting. Quantum communication signals began to propagate across the galaxy, not as weapons, but as information. Complex mathematical theorems, technological blueprints, glimpses of human potential that challenged every known paradigm of interstellar civilization. "They're not just fighting," Aria whispered into her quantum comlink. "They're teaching." Each Zorvax weapon became a lesson, Each attack, a moment of technological dissection that expanded humanity's understanding of quantum warfare. The battleship created quantum entanglement networks that turned the entire solar system into a single adaptive defensive organism. Captain Sarek watched in growing horror as his most sophisticated invasion protocols dissolved like frost under a morning sun. The Zorvax had conquered 17 civilizations. They had reduced entire species to technological footnotes. But humanity was different. Quantum cascades began to flow outward from Earth, not as weapons, but as pure information. Mathematical sequences that could reprogram entire technological systems. Adaptive algorithms that could neutralize invasion strategies before they'd fully manifested. The battleship revealed its true nature. It wasn't just a defensive system. It was a technological Rosetta Stone, a universal translator of potential. Entire Zorvax squadrons found themselves caught in probability fields where multiple potential outcomes existed simultaneously. Some ships experienced technological regression. Others found their systems rewritten from the inside out, transformed into passive observation nodes. General Catherine Rodriguez coordinated the human response from a command center that was part military installation, part quantum research facility. Every piece of human technology became a potential weapon. Every communication network a defensive node. We're not just fighting, she announced to the Global Defense Network. We're demonstrating what we can become. The quantum battleship began to create quantum duplicates of itself across multiple potential realities. Each version analyzed a different aspect of the Zorvax invasion, sharing information instantaneously across dimensional boundaries. One startling revelation emerged. The invasion wasn't just a military operation. It was a test. The Zorvax Confederation had a fundamental protocol for emerging technological civilizations. Civilizations that could resist their invasion were deemed worthy of further study. Those that couldn't were systematically eliminated. Humanity was passing the test with extraordinary brilliance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez discovered the deepest secret of Project Lazarus. The battleship was more than a weapon. It was a seed, a potential for a technological civilization that could transcend traditional understanding of warfare, communication, and existence. Quantum communication networks began to spread beyond the solar system, not as an invasion, but as an invitation to understand. Zarek's most advanced analysts experienced something unprecedented. The humans weren't just resisting. They were revealing a form of technological existence that the Zorvax had never encountered. A living system of potential. A civilization that could transform conflict into communication. As the final stages of the counteroffensive began, one thing became clear. This was no longer just a battle for Earth. This was a battle for the future of galactic civilization. 30 days after the invasion, the world was unrecognizable. The quantum battleship now orbited Earth not as a weapon, but as a beacon. Its crystalline hull reflected sunlight in patterns that seemed to pulse with living mathematics, a constant reminder of humanity's transformed potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the United Nations Xenological Council, her presentation unlike any diplomatic meeting in human history. Holographic displays danced around her, showing the intricate quantum networks that now connected humanity to a broader galactic dialogue. We're not just survivors, she explained, her voice steady. We're participants in a larger conversation. The battleship had become more than a defensive system. It was a bridge, a living translation matrix that could communicate with civilizations beyond human comprehension. Quantum communication networks spread like neural pathways across interstellar space, transforming humanity from an isolated planetary civilization to an emerging galactic presence. Captain Sarek of the Zorvax Confederation sat in the observation section, a representative of a species suddenly forced to reconsider everything they understood about technological evolution. The humans had not just survived. They had fundamentally challenged the Zorvax's entire approach to first contact. Fragments of Project Lazarus continued to emerge. The original designers, a group of maverick scientists, mathematicians, and visionaries from the 1940s, had created something far beyond a simple weapon. They had planted a seed of potential that would take decades to fully understand. Dr. Marcus Chen discovered the most profound revelation. The battleship's quantum matrix contained more than just defensive protocols. It was a living archive of human potential. Every scientific breakthrough, every moment of creative innovation, every instance of human resilience, carefully preserved and interconnected. It's a library, Marcus told his daughter Aria. Not just of information, of possibility. Global infrastructure had been completely transformed. Cities became adaptive networks. Communication systems operated on quantum principles that made previous technologies look like primitive cave paintings. Every piece of human technology now existed in a state of dynamic, intelligent interconnection. The Zorvax Confederation's invasion had become an unexpected catalyst. Humanity was evolving, not through conflict, but through understanding. General Catherine Rodriguez oversaw the first truly global collaborative effort. Military systems, research facilities, communication networks, all merged into a single adaptive system that defied traditional understanding of human organization. Quantum communication nodes appeared in the most unexpected places: a weather monitoring station in Antarctica, a research outpost in the Mariana Trench, an observatory in the Atacama Desert. Each became a point of potential interstellar communication. The battleship continued to broadcast, not as a threat, not as a defense, but as an invitation to understand. Pazarek realized the true nature of their miscalculation. The humans weren't just a civilization to be conquered or studied. They were a living system of unprecedented potential, a civilization that could transform conflict into communication, destruction into understanding. As the first interstellar diplomatic missions began to form, one thing became abundantly clear. Project Lazarus was never just about survival. It was about transcendence. In orbit, the quantum battleship continued its silent vigil. Part weapon, part library, part bridge to a future no one could have anticipated. A living testament to human potential. And this was only the beginning.